guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 64. I'm your host, Pam, and today we're going to be talking about getting delusional. Before we get started, I wanted to say this episode is sponsored by Kaj Creations. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see I have my You the Boss cup, so definitely check them out on social. I've tagged their information in the show notes. So let's get started. I want to start off with a quote today by Nelson Mandela, and it's, "Everything is impossible until it's done." A lot of misconceptions show up every day about what it means to be delusional versus being realistic. And I'm here to tell you that while I am a person who believes in logic, I believe in, actively choosing the right thing and not just letting something else lead you. I am also a person who believes in what they consider to be delusion. I do believe many things are possible, a lot of the time without there being physical proof. And I wanted to share a little bit of I guess you could say, a delusional time, kind of like a personal experience. I've shared with you guys that last year we bought a house and I had a baby in the same year. And I may not have told you that when we had gotten married, I would always tell people when they would ask us if and when we were having kids, I would say, "Don't worry, we're going to have a kid and buy a house in the same year. We're going to buy a house and have a kid in the same year." And I really believed that. And at the time, it seemed so delusional because of the market, where we were financially, not knowing if we could conceive, like all those different things. Not that I had physical proof that I couldn't conceive, and not that I necessarily even really knew what it went into to buying a house. But again, I just knew that it would happen. And it was kind of irrational of me to say. And now I bring it up all the time because I did it. And it wasn't necessarily logical while it was happening. It wasn't necessarily rational or something like that. But it did happen. And I believe in my heart that it started because I was just delusional in this thing that I wanted to do. And I think that there is a myth in realistic thinking. Now, I want to preface this by saying, if you consider yourself a realist, this is not an attack on you. I'm just here talking to the people who are bosses, the people who are bossing up their life, who are ambitious, and they are just looking for the next level. Sometimes you're faced with different decisions of what looks realistic to others, what other people think is realistic thinking. And I think that some of that is conditioning. I think that when we choose to say that we're looking at things realistically, we're actually just looking at them from a quote unquote safe place. We want to find evidence in everything. We want to say, "Oh, but I'm a numbers person. I need to see the numbers." And some of those things are so real. I'm not taking away from that experience, but I am saying that sometimes evidence-based is just you leading from a sense of fear. And last week we did cover that. Last week we talked about who would you be without fear? And I hope that you're doing things that you do have fear in. But sometimes realistic thinking is also based in that. And I'm here to tell you that how come we tell children that they can do anything they put their mind to, and then we become adults who say, be realistic? And I think the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this episode today is that transformation starts with delusion. Everything that we put into fruition in our lives starts from a point of a delusion. It starts from a point of being told that you can't achieve something, even when it comes from a safe place. Like, well, Pam, you need to be realistic. Pam, you need to understand that that's just not for you. And I'm not talking about me, myself at 5'1", thinking that I could take on someone like LeBron James at however tall he is, who is a basketball superstar. I'm talking about putting things into fruition, wanting to achieve, putting yourself out there in a career, saying, you know what, I want to climb this ladder. I want to become a partner in a short amount of time at this law firm. I want to go and make my own TV show for being myself online. And you can. You know, Oprah was told that she wasn't fit for TV. Sarah Blakely, she started selling Spanx from her apartment. And I mention these people because I'm sure you've heard of Oprah, and I'm sure you've worn Spanx or a version of Spanx. And so it's important to give you those examples because you know of them, and to tell you that these started out as a delusion, as things that people were told to be realistic. And it's important to know that when you reinvent yourself or when you're inventing yourself, the first step in that is the belief. The belief comes before the results. You have to believe it before you see it. And if you're thinking, well, I need to see it before I believe it, I'm here to tell you that's not going to let you boss up. If you think that's going to allow you to boss up, then maybe this isn't the right time for you. I typically have found myself a few times on this podcast saying sorry, not sorry. And I'm pulling away from that, and I'm just going to tell you things and be open with you and be transparent because I don't want to be sorry, not sorry anymore. I want to just be straight up with you. And the belief in yourself has to come from within so that externally you can create your reality. And I think that is the most fun part for me right now in this season of my life and in this season of this podcast is that it's important to note that you are the creator of your reality. I also want to say that the bigger reality in the things happening around the world and all of those things, and I say it often on this podcast, we can't control what's going on externally. We can only control what's going on right in front of us. And so if you want to affect the bigger reality, then you need to start with your reality first. So I want to give you guys a couple of ways for you to get delusional. I want you to release your armor at the door. I want you to drop all your conceptions. I want you to fully take this in, and I want you to understand that being a boss of your life, not just in your career or what you're doing for business or in motherhood or sisterhood or parenthood or any of that, I want you to internalize the next couple of things that I'm going to say, and I want you to begin expeditiously to put them into your life. Not because of me, but because I put in some work for this episode. I put in work for every episode, but this episode in particular really spoke to me because getting delusional is literally you going back to your childlike belief and believing how big the world is and how much you can get from this experience of life. Number one, I want you to create a vision that scares you and excites you. Make it fun. I want it to be so far-fetched that when you go to talk about it, you're like, wow, that's really big. Fear and desire often live in the same place. So sometimes it works for us to say, if that scares me, that's the thing I should do. Lean into the version of you that is scared to admit what you want to be. Number two, detach from needing evidence right away. This one is a little bit more difficult than others, I think, because we are so conditioned to believe that we need evidence right away. I need to see the proof. I need to see the proof. And again, sometimes that's important. So I want to say to you, detach from that and remember that if you can believe it, then it will become seen to you. Your brain is going to look for patterns and for proof. So when you feed it these bold beliefs and these bold thoughts, it's going to start looking for the evidence. That's something that's so powerful in our subconscious, that when you give your brain something, it's like literally putting into Google whatever the opinion is, you will find evidence for it. So detach from that evidence, from needing evidence right away. Number 3, speak it before it's real. Say it out loud. Write it down. Introduce yourself like it's already happening. Say, I am, and then insert whatever it is that you want. Your language really shapes your reality. Again, speaking to your subconscious, affirmations are a real thing. There's science about that. Neuroplasticity is a real thing. I want to touch on this at a later episode, but I've also spoken about this in a very beginning episode when I talked about watching what you say. Your language shapes your reality. Your identity shifts the more you declare it. So say I am, and then put out the most outrageous thing that you can say. I have one of the biggest podcasts worldwide. I have over 1 million, listeners on my podcast. I get on stages all across the globe. I am a well sought out speaker. If you hear all of those things, first of all, I just shared something very vulnerable with you from my own vision, but these are also affirmations that you have to say out loud. You have to write them down. You have to introduce yourself like it's already happening. Show up through your speech as you already are. Number 4, surround yourself with unrealistic thinkers. Get in the rooms, even the digital spaces, virtually, etc., with people who dream audaciously. Get in those rooms. Your environment creates you. Your environment can either reinforce your limitation or inspire you in the best way in delusion. It's difficult to outgrow sometimes when you've been around people who you've been around for a long time, and this is not an overnight success kind of challenge for you, but you need to understand that for you to level up, you need to level up all the things around you. It is not just in the one space. You can't stay in the same rooms that you were to get you to where you are now, to get you to the future. You need to break ground. You need to surround yourself with these quote unquote unrealistic thinkers, because not only will that put you in a great place, but you'll also be surrounded by other people who are looking for you as well. Number 5, take micro actions that align with the vision. Move like future you is already true. If you're looking to move like a millionaire, I'm not saying spend like a millionaire, but budget like a millionaire. Because by the way, you don't become a millionaire and stay a millionaire by being reckless with your finances. So move like it's already true. Treat things like it's not that they're expensive. They're just outside of the budget. Action tells your subconscious, this is who we are now. These small steps, they push you into that belief. They push you into this place. It aligns with your vision. It aligns with who you are. So no, maybe you can't necessarily money-wise afford right now to always have a budget of getting your nails and a pedicure done and your lashes done. But I promise you that if you tell your subconscious that and you start to do those things for yourself, the budget comes for it. So take micro actions that align with that vision of who it is that you want to be. Number 6, celebrate the invisible wins. I often share this here and on my social media platforms. Celebrate the wins. Celebrate the shifts in your mindset, the courage that you had to show up last week, the risks that you took, even if it wasn't the outcome that you anticipated. This rewires your nervous system. It rewires your nervous system to feel safe in the becoming, not just in when you arrive. It's important to celebrate the movement of things because it puts your subconscious in the space of saying, I moved a little bit today. I took a little bit of that micro action, and so I'm able to celebrate that. And I don't mean go buy an expensive bottle of wine because you sent out an email. But I mean, you know what? Cheers to you. You did what you said you were going to do today. You completed certain tasks that might have been a little bit tedious for you. And it's important to celebrate those things. I want to provide you guys with a book that I'm presently listening to. Again, whenever I mention books on this podcast or different authors, this is just purely my own reviews, purely my own, sentiments on what I'm getting from them or what I've gotten from them. I'm not sponsored by any of these authors, though maybe one day I will be. And a book that I'm currently listening to is by Tara Mohr, and it's called Playing Big. And this book is, it's for anyone who, if you're struggling with self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or you're waiting for permission, she offers kind of like a framework, for stepping into your boldest self. Even if it feels too ambitious, if it feels too early, it's about trusting your inner voice and not looking for external validation. And it helps transform, that inner knowing of your belief so that you can start to see the evidence, and it's not through outer approval. And before I end this episode, I want to remind you to leave us a review on wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're on all streaming platforms. Leave us a 5-star. We definitely appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Come back again next week for another episode of You the Boss podcast.